everyone. We still have people coming in right now, but for those of you who are joining us right now, welcome. If you would please make sure that you're make sure that you can mute your microphone and that your Zoom name, whatever is showing up, is what you signed up first and last. That's just going to help us match you to the appropriate breakout room for the program that you're attending the session for. So I think that it is now, let's see what time it is. It's now 11:01. So let's go ahead and get started. And we have any latecomers, we'll just make sure that they get to their appropriate rooms. But hi, my name is Heather Burke. I'm the Student Affairs Officer for the School of Information Science. I do work primarily with our Library Science Master's students, coordinating and advising, but I work scheduling across programs. So that includes our bachelor's programs in ICT as well. If you are here for that session, then you'll be with me shortly from now. And I will turn it over now to Sarah Jane Tamey.
Hi, everyone. I am Sarah Jane. I am the Admissions Coordinator and Student Affairs Officer for the ICT Master's Program. So for those of you who signed up for some information on that, I will be leading that session. And we have Ashley DeWitt.
Hi, everyone. I'm the admissions coordinator for the library science program. So if you signed up for that session, you'll be with me when we get to breakout rooms. And Evan Thompson, our technologist, is splitting you into rooms right now. Evan, if you can introduce yourself, great. If not, we will go ahead and get started in the breakout rooms.
Hey everyone, yep, just currently putting you guys in your rooms. Like Heather said, if you haven't already, go ahead and spell out your first and last name totally so I can split you into those breakout rooms. But from here, it looks like I have everybody down. So whenever you guys are ready, I can open those breakout rooms.
All right, I think that we're ready to go. So you'll be receiving a little pop-up in Zoom that tells you to go ahead and join your breakout room. And if there are any issues, then you can go ahead and let Evan know and he can help sort you out into the correct room.
All right, we are recording. Looks like people can see. Perfect. Hi, again, I'm Ashley DeWitt. I am the admissions coordinator for the library science program. I am also a graduate of this program. So I have been exactly where you are right now and understand the sort of position that you're in, the questions that you might have. So the session itself is about 30 minutes. And if you have questions at any point, you can put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. But we'll also have time for Q&A at the end. So brief overview, this is a, pardon me, this is a 36 credit hour program. That's 12 classes. That's pretty standard for master's degrees. Our degree is completely online. Even if you are in Lexington or the surrounding areas, you will take all of your classes online. And our online classes are asynchronous, meaning you don't have to be online at a particular time on a particular day. Most of our classes take a weekly or a bi-weekly schedule. So your instructor will say, okay, our week begins on a Monday, it ends on a Sunday, and by Sunday, I want you to have X, Y, and Z done. So each instructor will make their schedule explicit. The nice thing about asynchronous classes is they do follow the semester schedule. It's not a free-for-all. So August is the start date for fall classes, and they end with the on-campus classes in December. Spring is January through May, and then our summer classes are the last 8 weeks of our summer session, which is sort of mid-June to mid-August. A really nice thing about this program is that online students qualify for a specific online-only tuition rate, which is actually a little bit less than the in-state rate. And this is true for all of our students, even if you live out of state, as long as you're enrolled in only online classes, you pay the online only rate. Some more statistics about the program. We have about 300 students currently enrolled, so we're sort of right in the middle of the programs, not the biggest, not the smallest. We are, however, one of the older programs. We started teaching library science classes here at UK in 1918, and we've been involved in distance education for more than 30 years. We have 10 full-time faculty currently, with 2 new faculty joining us in the fall. And we are well ranked on US News and World Report. So overall, the program is ranked 17th. For health information, we're 3rd, for school library media 11th, and for services for children and youth 12th. And that makes sense because going back to 1918, preparing teachers is actually how our program got started. So we have a long history of preparing people to serve children and youth as information professionals. Any questions so far? Okay, I don't see anything coming through the chat. If they do, I'll come back. So let's talk a little bit about academics. I mentioned some of our concentrations: youth services and literature, school libraries, health information. We also have concentrations in things that you would expect: academic libraries, public libraries. There's also information technology and systems, if you're more interested in the technology that sort of underscores our field. And then there's also a generalist concentration if you have interest across multiple concentrations, or if you really want to kind of dabble across the classes, that's great. The important thing to remember is that the concentrations are not formal degree designations. They won't appear on your transcript or on your diploma. It's really just something internally for us. And so what we'll do on our website is we'll say, oh, hey, you're interested in academic libraries. Here are some of the classes we would recommend for you. And they're just that, recommendations. So we just want to give you some insight to say, hey, if this is an area that you're interested in, here's some of the coursework that could be useful for you. But we encourage every student to tailor their course plan to their individual career goals. So if that means that you're taking some recommended academic library classes and some recommended information technology and systems classes, that's great. That's exactly what we want you to do, mix and match. The only concentration that is a little bit different is school libraries. And that's because that's the concentration for our current teachers who are coming back to earn both their master's in library science and to become eligible as school library media specialists. And so they have a valid teaching certificate already, and then they're coming back for the degree and for certification. So they have a little more strict requirements in terms of classes so that they can meet those certification requirements. Speaking of classes, so for all of our non-school media students, which is most of the students in the program, here's how your 12 classes break down. So the first 4 classes are the core classes. Everybody takes these. And we've got 600 through 603. While the numbers are sequential, the courses are not. You can take them in any order. But 600 is sort of an introduction to our profession, who we are, what we do, why we do it, why it matters. 601 is more about information seeking. How do we find information efficiently and effectively? How do we parse people's information needs and match them with appropriate sources? 602 is sort of the flip side of 601. It's about knowledge organization. So things like cataloging, metadata. How do we create information systems that are then searchable? And then 603 is a foundational management class. Everyone in this field manages something, whether that is craft supplies for summer reading or an entire library system that's got 25 branches. Everyone will manage something at some point in their career, so we like to make sure all of our students have a good grounding in management and teamwork principles. Outside of the 4 core classes, you have to take at least 1 technology class, and that can be any technology class in our curriculum. So we've got things like 636, which is a foundations class, a good place to start if you don't feel quite as comfortable with technology. It's a good overview of relevant technologies. And then we have things like 668, which is more of an advanced database building class. And some of our special topics classes, our 690s, also have an information technology focus. So you only have to take 1. I always recommend that you take as many as you're interested in because our field is very responsive to technology, right? Everything that we do in large part now has some technological component to it. And as technology changes, our services and our field change. So the greater ease you have with technology, the easier it will be to transition across your field, or rather across your career. The final 7 classes are electives. You can pick anything in the catalog, including our practicum class, where you can get course credit for an internship, and then also an independent study. If you have something that you're really passionate about, but we don't have a standalone course, you can design your own class under the supervision of one of the full-time faculty and sort of direct your own learning. So these are just a sample of elective options. It's not exhaustive, but just to give you a sense of some of the things that are on offer. I won't go through the whole list. I'll just pull out a couple things like 627 Consumer Health Information Resources, 661 Introduction to Data Science, and then our 690 classes, which are special topics classes. So this is where we try new electives. So for instance, literature and related materials for early childhood has been a special topics class for the last year, and it's actually going to get its own course number next year. I don't know what it is yet, probably somewhere in the 16s. But it's always a good idea to look every semester at those special topics classes just to see what's on offer. And then for our school library students, their course plan looks a little different, again, because they have those certification requirements that they have to meet. So again, they start with the same 4 core classes, but then they have 4 school library specialization courses, 644, 647, 655 or another approved elective, and 676. So for the school library students, the school media practicum is required. For non-school library students, you can choose to complete a practicum, but the practicum is not required. Only for the school library students is it required. Our school library students also pick from the literature courses, at least 2, and then they have 2 technology courses, one specific to school media centers and then another of their choosing. So I'm going to pause for a second. Does anybody have any questions about that content? Okay, if anything comes up, I will go back and answer it. So one really unique thing about this program that we like to draw attention to is something called Alternative Spring Break. This is a program that we have had since 2011. And in non-pandemic years, how this works is that we send a small group of students, usually between 8 to 10, to Washington, D.C., to Bethesda, Maryland, and they intern at institutions like Smithsonian Libraries and the National Library of Medicine. And as the name suggests, the program happens over the university spring break, which is usually the 2nd or 3rd week of March. So the students go to these institutions, they intern with the professionals there on a variety of projects. We've had students working on cataloging and processing projects, students working with outreach and education librarians, other students working on social media or with philanthropy and advancement. The projects change every year. But it's a great way to get some practical experience and to work at some of the premier institutions in the country. So the call for applications for alternative spring break usually goes out late in the fall semester, late October, early November. And then we send the applications off to the host institutions. They choose their preferred candidates. We let the students know, and then we start any necessary paperwork for interning in the spring semester. And then again in March, you actually go. We have been able to host this even during the pandemic. We had several institutions who were willing to pivot online, but we are hoping that next year, spring of 23, that our students will be experiencing this in person again. I'll also mention that the school typically provides a scholarship to each student selected to help offset the cost of travel and housing for the week. Does anybody have any questions about alternative spring break? I will mention I did this when I was in the program and I thought it was an absolutely incredible experience. It was one of my favorite parts. So let's get into tuition and financial aid now. Always very important. A graduate program is a serious financial commitment. So we don't have the rates yet for 2022, 2023. They'll probably release those sometime in July. But I can give you the rates for this past academic year just to give you a ballpark figure. So if you'll look at that third line, online only, that's what our students typically pay because they're only in online classes. So the full-time rate is about $6,300 a semester. And full-time for a graduate student is 9 or more hours. So that's 3 or more classes. The full-time rate goes into effect in both the fall and spring semesters. In the summer semester, everybody pays the part-time rate just based off of credit hours. And the part-time rate works out to about $2,100 a class. So when we have the new tuition rates, they will be posted on the registrar's website. It's the best place to go for the most current tuition information. In terms of application deadlines, we are still accepting applications for fall 2022, and that deadline is July the 1st. So you still have just about a month left to get the applications in. If you're looking ahead to spring of 23, that deadline is November 15th. And if you're looking ahead to next summer, that deadline will be March 15th. There are also opportunities for scholarships and funding. So within the university, there are a limited number of fellowships through the graduate school. The deadlines and requirements for each fellowship are different. So I always suggest look on the graduate school's website, look through all of the fellowships. And if you are eligible, please do apply. We did have a student awarded a fellowship for this current academic year. So our students certainly do win these fellowships. There are also typically a limited number of assistantships. So assistantships, the students work August to August, so the full calendar year, in an on-campus library here in Lexington. So you do need to be in Lexington or the surrounding area and able to come work in an on-campus library. And so for 20 hours of work per week, the students get a full tuition scholarship for the fall and spring semesters, health insurance, and a stipend. If that isn't feasible for you for whatever reason, you're also welcome to apply for one of our school scholarships. That deadline is very quickly approaching, June 15th. And you also need to have your program application in by that day to be considered. It's open to both full-time and part-time students, students within Kentucky or outside of it. But you do need to be admitted in order to be eligible for a scholarship. Where you have opportunities for larger scholarships are external to UK. So the American Library Association, of course, is a big proponent of students in ALA programs. They have a lot of excellent scholarships. That application is typically due March 1st every year, and it normally opens sometime in late September or early October. Beta Phi Mu, our honor society, also sometimes has scholarships. Those are usually due March 15th. And then don't discount things like your state library association or regional library association. So Kentucky Library Association, their application deadline for scholarships just passed. But there's also SELA, the Southeastern Library Association, if you're in a state that belongs to SELA, or check your local state library association. They probably have a scholarship too. And read the qualification requirements carefully, because how most of these are written is that you have to be a resident of that state enrolled in any ALA accredited program. So you could be a resident of Montana, but in our program and still qualify, or you have to be a resident of another state, but enrolled in the library science program in that state. So it works either way. So often a lot of our students qualify not only for Kentucky, but also their home state library association as well. Any questions about tuition, scholarships, funding before I move into how to apply? Okay. So for our admissions requirements, what we're looking for is an undergraduate GPA of a 3.0 or higher. And if you've done any previous graduate work, we'd like to see a 3-point higher there as well. I often get this question, but what if my degree wasn't in library science? That's actually the most common. As long as your degree is from an accredited institution, it doesn't matter what it's in. And actually, this is one of the few fields where any field that you came from is going to be relevant because you have subject specific knowledge in that field. So for instance, I came from history, pardon me, which meant that I was already familiar with historical research, historical databases, and other resources. And so that gave me an entry point as I was learning about those things from a library science perspective to sort of already know what was going on because I had that field specific knowledge. And our students really do come from all over. The humanities are very popular, but also biology, chemistry, other hard sciences, social sciences, anthropology and the like. And then we've got students that come from religious studies and students that come from fashion design. And so it's a bit of a smorgasbord. You'll find a little bit of everything in this field. Outside of the GPA, we're looking for 3 letters of recommendation. Any combination of academic and professional is fine. If you have been out of school for a number of years and you don't have any academic references you feel comfortable asking, that's okay. We're happy to accept 3 professional references instead. So your managers, your bosses, supervisors, even coworkers, just people that know you and your work. We also like to see a personal statement. It's not very long, about 200 to 300 words, where you explain 2 things to us. First, why do you want to go into this field? What are your career goals? Why do you want to be a librarian or an information professional? And then 2, why is our program a good fit for those career goals? So we like to see both of those questions answered. And the last piece is a current resume or CV. So we can see what kinds of professional and academic experiences you've had that might be relevant to this field. Any questions about the requirements?
I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn my volume up.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
With transcripts, like I have an MFA from Murray, so how do you want us to send those?
Okay, so the application will tell you one thing and the graduate school expects another. So for every institution of higher education that you've attended where you earned credits that applied for a degree, we want to see that transcript. So yes, we would want the transcript. Did you say Murray?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, like, do you want me to just send it from like their registrar office, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, so if you have access to an unofficial copy, you can put that in the application as long as it has your name and the institution's name. If it doesn't, or if you don't have access to an unofficial copy and you need to order one, go ahead and have it sent straight to me. If you can, some institutions don't allow it, but if you can, have it sent straight to me. I'll send you a copy that you can put in your application, and then I'll pass the file on to the graduate school for their records. The reason that we have you do that is that it makes the process a little faster, because the graduate school, as you can understand, can receive hundreds of transcripts every day, and there's one person in charge of processing them all. So if it has to go to the graduate school first, sometimes there's a 3 or 4 or 5 day delay between them getting it and then being able to share it with me, where if it comes straight to me, I can just send it on to you. The other important thing to note is that if you send it to yourself, it's no longer considered official. So even if you order an official transcript and it's a PDF and it's certified, if you send it to yourself, even if you upload it into the application, the graduate school won't consider it official anymore. So the Cliff Notes version, if you have an unofficial transcript, upload that. If you don't, order an official transcript and send it to me. And if that isn't an option, send it to the graduate school, but let me know that you've done that. Does that help, Janie?
Yeah, that really helps. Thank you so much for all that info.
Yeah, you're welcome. Transcripts are definitely one of the most confusing parts of this process. So if you ever have any questions, any of you, about your specific situation, please just send me an email. I'm happy to help. In terms of actually getting to the application itself, there's a number of ways to do this. Some of them involve a lot more clicks than others. One of the quickest ways to do it is from our graduate school's website, which is very conveniently gradschool.uky.edu. And so under prospective students, which is usually the second menu option, the first option under that apply takes you straight to our application portal. So that's usually the easiest way to get to it. But if you have a different way, or if you've bookmarked it already, it's totally fine. However you get to it is great. So that is the end of my presentation. You're always welcome to contact me. My email is ashdewitt@uky.edu. I will also be sending presentation slides and a recording after the session. You'll probably get it sometime tomorrow or on Thursday. So for right now, I'm going to stop share and then open it up to whatever questions you have.
I had a question.
Mhm.
So I was looking, I don't know if this is for the online program, but I was looking on the website about the expedited like timeline. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so we do offer a sort of course plan for our students that like to finish the degree faster than the normal 2 years. We call it the expedited plan. The absolute quickest you can do the program is 3 semesters. And students either do that across 11 months or across about 15 months. The problem with the expedited plan is that because you need more seats in more classes than a typical full-time course load, we do ask that you apply quite a bit early so that we can guarantee you those classes. It doesn't mean that you couldn't apply as an expedited student for fall 2022 right now. We will certainly try to accommodate that need for extra classes, but we simply may not have seats left in 5 separate classes for you to take. So if you think you want to do an expedited plan, try to apply at least 3 or 4 months before the application deadline, because that's usually when we're starting registration for that semester. And that way we can get you registered very, very early on in the process and definitely meet that requirement for 4 or 5 classes, depending on how you're going to do the program. Does that help, Cheney?
Sorry. Yeah, that helps a lot. I'm looking at the spring, so that works.
Yeah, so in that case, I would suggest apply no later than October 1st, preferably sometime in September.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Other questions?
Hi, Ashley.
Yeah.
I want to know usually when will I know if I will be admitted or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So once your application is submitted, I look pretty much every day and I check to make sure that we have all the transcripts that we need and that your letters of recommendation are in. For some students, that's immediate. Once they've submitted, all of that's there. And then I route your application for processing. If any of those things are missing, it does cause a little bit of a delay, depending on how long it takes to get those recommendations in or the transcripts in. But as soon as I have all recommendations and all transcripts, you start the review process, and that review process typically takes 5 to 10 business days. So there's a program level review first, and then there's a graduate school review. As you might understand, it's the summer, so people are on vacation, which can sometimes cause processing delays. But if you ever want an application update, feel free to email me and I'll tell you exactly where your application is and about how long you can expect the admissions decisions to take from that point.
Okay, just now you talked about the official transcript.
Yes.
I want to know if that's the requirement, like you do need to receive the official one instead of the unofficial one.
So for the application itself, unofficial is fine as long as it has your name and your degree and your institution, rather, your name and your institution's name. If you are admitted to the program, then yes, you are required to send official transcripts in. And you have until registration for your second semester to do that. So if you were admitted for the fall semester, your transcripts have to be in October before we start registration for spring of 23. If you're admitted for the spring semester, then your transcripts have to be in by March before we start registration for the next fall and summer. So yes, eventually, if you are admitted, you do have to send the official transcripts in. But for many people, for the application, unofficial is perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, so I had two questions. First one is about like the practicum option that you're talking about. I was wondering kind of like what those experiences look like and how students find those opportunities.
So the practicum really takes whatever form the student wants. So typically you need to work under the supervision of a licensed information professional. So someone has to supervise you on site. But we've had students work here at our Keeneland Library, which is part of our horse racing center. We've had students work on cataloging projects, on archival projects, on outreach projects. So it really, we always tell students, what skills do you want to master? And then try to develop your practicum experience around that. So think about, okay, after this, I want to know how to do X, Y, and Z. In terms of actually finding placements, we can give you lots of ideas, but because our students are quite literally all over the US and in several foreign countries, we don't place students directly because we don't know all of those communities. But we'll give you some good jumping off points. And then we always encourage students to do something local to you. So if you want academic library experience, look and see what kinds of institutions are local to you. Reach out to the library director and say, hey, I'm a library science master's student and I really want to get some experience in this particular area. Do you think I could work with your institution on a practicum? Beautiful thing about this field is that we're all very collegial, and generally institutions, public libraries and the like are eager to help students gain that practical experience. The logistics of it are you have to work 140 hours across the semester, and then you have to have some kind of culminating project at the end. And that project can take whatever form you want. So some students make LibGuides, some students do videos, some students teach a lesson, develop a collection. Again, it depends on what your goals are. Does that help, Kate?
Yeah, that was helpful. Thank you.
And what was your second question?
My other question was about, since it is asynchronous, I was kind of wondering like the structure of the classes. I'm sure it varies from class to class, but is it like video based or maybe like text based?
So it does depend on the class. Everything you will interact with will be through our learning management system, Canvas. So you might be experienced with Moodle or with Blackboard. It's just another learning management system. We had Blackboard before. Canvas is much nicer. So every class will have its particular shell, and everything that you will do for that class is built into that shell. So assignments are built there, reading lists, links to readings, any kind of lecture material. So some professors will pre-record lectures for you to watch. Other professors may not take that tactic. It's up to them. They may want you to have more of a discussion-based class, but everything we do through Canvas. The one resource that you have available to you now is that we host all of our syllabuses online on our website. So you can actually go look at the most recent syllabus for whatever class you're interested in and get a sense of how that class is organized. Like I mentioned earlier, they do follow the semester schedule. They start with the face-to-face classes, they end with the face-to-face classes. And most faculty either take a weekly or a bi-weekly approach to actual content organization. So in that sense, there is structure built in. It's not a free-for-all, but it does give you the leeway to work on your assignments or your readings across a week, rather than having to be prepared at 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. Again, with students all over the country and all over the world, time zones are hard to have any kind of synchronous activity, so we don't. Does that help, Kate? Do you have a better sense of classes?
Yeah, no, that's great. Where did you say that you can find the information on syllabuses?
On our website, and if you give me just a second, I will actually go pull the link for you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I do that. Does anybody else have questions? I'm going to put it in the chat. So that is the direct link to our syllabus page. You're very welcome. Any other questions before we end the session today? Well, if you think of anything, please don't hesitate to email me. I'm happy to answer however many questions or however small or big they are. You're not bothering me. I really am here to help assist you with this process. So feel free to reach out to me at any point. If you are ready to go, you can leave straight from this room. You don't need to go back to the main room. I'll hang around for a few more minutes. But thank you all so much for joining me and spending part of your early afternoon. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have like my MFA in writing and creative writing from Murray,
Mhm.
and I got that in 2018. But during that time, I was going to midwifery school for like a year, but it wasn't. I'm trying to think of how to say it. Like it was like a professional school, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But they shut down.
Oof.
Yeah, which wolf, yeah, for real. And they did that last August.
Mhm.
So I'm wanting to apply in the spring for you all's program. And I did my undergrad at UK. I got my English degree here. But I've heard from people who also were at the school that they've had problems getting transcripts because they're shut down. So I'm going to start emailing them now just to get a head start on it.
Yeah.
But what would I do if I was not able to get transcripts from them because they are no longer an institution?
So for now, leave them off your application and
Okay.
shoot me an email, Cheney, with the name of the
Okay, I will.
institution.
Okay.
And I can do a little digging, because what is supposed to happen when a school closes is that they're either supposed to have a person still on staff that is in
Yeah.
charge of transcripts, or they're supposed to designate another institution that has that responsibility, and they merge all their student records over there. So once I know the name of the institution, I can help you with this part of the legwork to try to figure out where your transcript might actually be.
Okay, I will email all that information to you. It's in Maine. It was Birthwise. It was like a certified professional midwifery school, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, they shut down like very unexpectedly, and it was a wild time.
Oh, I bet. It's always awful when you're in the middle of a program and your school shuts down.
Yeah. But okay, great. Then I will email you, and thank you so much for answering all the questions. I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome, and I will look forward to that email, and I will get back to you as soon as I know something.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, so as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, along with the other staff in the School of Information Science, my name is Sarah Jane. I am basically the point of contact for anyone interested in the ICT Master's program. So any questions about the program, about the application process, can come to me. And then, you know, I'm kind of that helpful person up until students get into the program and get a faculty advisor. But I'm also still there for help with the more like registering for classes and that sort of thing. So we are in the School of Information Science. We do also have the Master's in Library Science, and then we have that Bachelor's in ICT. And then the School of Information Science is in the College of Communication and Information. So some quick points about the program. It is fully online. All of the courses are asynchronous, so they are never going to say, okay, you need to be online at 8 p.m. every Tuesday or anything like that. It is, you know, work at your own pace. I think, you know, it is typically, you know, weekly modules There are due dates for assignments, but there won't ever be times that you have to be online or have to be meeting with the course. It is 36 credit hours. That comes out to 12 courses. All of the courses in our program are 3 credit hours. And that will be 5 core courses and 7 electives. And then there is 140 hours of practicum experience, but I will expand on that in a later slide. So these are our 3 concentration tracks. They are health, policy and regulation, and technology and analytics. I do like to point out here that students never have to officially declare one of these tracks. So, you don't have to come into the program and say, okay, I want to do the health track and then only take health related electives. These are the areas that our electives do fall under, but again, students can mix and match courses, for what interests them or what would benefit, your career, where you want to go. We have been partnering a little bit with the ISC program on UK's campus, which is Integrated Strategic Communication. It's kind of like the applied marketing degree at UK. So we have been partnering some with them the past few semesters to develop some electives, kind of like social media strategies, more marketing based IT things. So those are also kind of thrown in some as well. I think there's maybe some talk about creating a graduate certificate with that, but that has not happened yet. This is a quick faculty spotlight. So we have Dr. Jeffrey Huber, who is actually the Director of Graduate Studies for the School of Information Science, and he teaches some of our health electives. So his research interests are health literacy, HIV/AIDS information and communication, and just health information outreach in general. We have Dr. Zidali. His interests are cybersecurity, privacy, and energy efficient networking. And then Dr. Burns. So Dr. Burns is actually faculty for both our master's in ICT and our master's in library science. He teaches courses in both. A lot of our courses actually some are cross-listed because a lot of the topics, go well with both programs. So they're offered to both programs. So his research interests are library and information science, history and ethics. So admissions requirements, there is no GRE required. I know some programs were kind of dropping that amidst COVID, and some might be picking that back up. We actually dropped that back in, I think, 2018. So it will not be a requirement that's coming back. So no GRE required. We do require a bachelor's degree from a 4-year institution with a GPA of 3.0 or higher. If your GPA might fall under that 3.0, you can still apply. We just ask that applicants with the GPA under that include an additional statement, just a couple of paragraphs, kind of going into any circumstances they're willing to share about why that GPA might have been a little lower. The TOEFL or IELTS, those are for international students. So the other requirements are a personal statement. We ask that be 200 to 300 words, kind of reflecting on why you're seeking admission to the ICT master's program at UK, why you're interested in a career as an ICT professional. And then 3 letters of recommendation and your CV or resume. The letters of recommendation, I do get asked sometimes about that. So I will say, yes, professors, supervisors, advisors are great, but really anyone that can attest to you in a professional setting and your work ethic will work for those. And then the transcripts, I have I have the address for the graduate school here, and the electronic email to send transcripts to, because we do accept unofficial copies for the application. So, you know, people can apply to the program and put in unofficial transcripts and they can be admitted that way. But once admitted, the graduate school will require official copies. So that is why their information is over here. Course requirements. So the 5 core courses are ICT 600, 610, 650. And then right here, you'll see that there's ICT 661 or ICT 662. So for those data science courses, either one can count towards those core requirements. We do have students take both, but the second one just counts as an elective. And then the practicum, always a lot of questions about that. So it is 140 hours and it is in our core course requirements, but there is an opportunity to get that requirement waived if students work full-time in an ICT related environment. And currently that process is just sending your current resume, you know, near the end of the program when you would, you know, be registering for the practicum course. You can request that that be waived. And if it is waived, students take an additional elective to make up for those 3 credit hours. I will say something new we've kind of been, we've had a couple of students do recently is we're also allowing students to use their current work site as the practicum site. So, you know, if there's some project or research with your job and there's an opportunity with your supervisor to do that, that's an option as well. But again, we work with students with that. I know a lot of students who are doing master's programs have full-time jobs or, you know, families, and it's just hard to get 140 hours somewhere else added on to life. So we are willing to work with that. The elective courses we have, this is not an exhaustive list. So these are the more regularly offered electives. Those 500 levels right here. So those are also offered to undergraduates. And one of those is on UK's campus. So that's, you know, really just an option if you're around UK and would like a face-to-face course. 552 is offered online. And then apart from these, we do have new electives pretty much every semester. We have a lot of special topics courses offered every semester. So those are kind of, but these are offered regularly. I think most of these are offered every other semester. And then the exit requirements. So, you know, some programs have a exit exam or a thesis. So ours is a written paper and a poster presentation that students work on with their faculty advisors. And that's done in addition to coursework during the final semester when students are graduating. So tuition and deadlines, the tuition rates. So there is a special tuition rate for students who take only online courses. So that is this top one here, which most students in the program would be using that tuition rate. And then I added the at least one on-campus course in case we do have people who are in Lexington or who work at UK who do choose to take a course on campus. So that rate will be a little different. And then there's a link here to the registrar's webpage with all the updated tuition. And there's also a PDF on their website that has all of the other student fees. So that's a good resource. And then deadlines to apply for spring admission, it is November 15th. And for fall admission, it is July 1st. Funding, some quick links to funding. We have the top link here is UK's financial aid office. Every student has a financial aid counselor. So that link will take you to all of that information. This UK graduate school link will take you to all the fellowships that are available. And students can apply for any that they qualify for, but those are against all students who are applying for those in any program at UK. We do have assistantships in the School of Information Science. They are library focused. Our library science program has been around a lot longer, and our assistantships are with the libraries at UK. But ICT students are welcome to apply for those. And this link for external scholarships will actually take you to our schools funding webpage, which is where the assistantship information is. And we also have some various links to search engines and databases for grants and scholarships. Unfortunately, there are no internal scholarships for the ICT Master's program yet, but that we do have some resources on that page. And then UK employees, if you are an employee at UK, this link takes you to that EEP webpage for the tuition assistance program. And then this final link is the UK jobs website. So, if you don't work at UK and you're just interested in, looking at the current openings, that will take you there.